Namaskaram all. Today, I think straight away we will go to the session. Chaturmukha Samarambham Vagbhadacharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Parambaram Ragadirogan Satatanushaktan Sheshakaya Prasrutan Sheshan Aulsukhya Moharadidan Jakhana Yopurva Vaidyaya Namostu Tasmai. In our last session, we started our discussions on various types of malas and we completed the discussion about Shakrit. Today we will see the next major mala, that is Mutra. Like Shakrit, interestingly, we can see that the Mutra is also explained as a part of the mala of Ahara. Kittam sarascha talpakvamannam sambhavadi dvidha tatracham kittam annasya mutram vidyad ghanam shakrit. Tatracham kittam annasya mutram vidyad ghanam shakrit. That is how the explanation that we find in this regard. And literally, that can be translated as the Pakwa Anna is further separated into Sara and Kitta. Kittam Sarascha Talpakvamannam Sambhavadi Dvidha. Tatracham Kittam Annasya Mutram. And it is to be understood that the Acha portion of the Kitta is Mutra. Ghanam Shakrit. And the Ghana part is Shakrit. So that is what we find. So the division is Acham and Ghanam. Ghana Sandre. So the Sandra part is called Shakrit. And Acham, Tatracham, Mutram. The word Acham, Acha means clear, without any precipitations or turbidity. Acham. Na Chadi Drishtim. That is Acham. Nirmale. These are the meanings of Acha Shabda. And we know without any textual description that Mutra is the Drava Mala. And now the text tells us the Mala of Ahara, which is Acha, that means which is clear, without any turbidity or precipitate, is called Mutra. Tatra Annasya Acham Kittam Mutram Vidyad. So whatever share of the Ahara Mala which is getting excreted from the body as clear, uncloudy, unturbid, that means without any precipitates, is called Mutra. So by making this statement, what the author is trying to stress equally is that Shakrit is not clear, Shakrit is turbid, and it has precipitates in it. And it is not supposed to be in Drava form, in its normal form, in its normalcy. Now, Mutra is excreted through Mehana. When we see the Srotases in this regard, we find Srodamsi, Nasike, Karnau, Netre, Payu, Asya, Mehanam. So, Mehanam is the Srotas which excretes the Mutra. The orifice assigned for that purpose. And not directly from the Koshta as it is happening in the case of Sakrit. That is important. These are certain areas where the Ayurvedic explanations are criticized. The orifice Mehana is a part or an addendum of the Mutravaha Srotas. So, from the first description, we find that Kittam Sarascha Tal Pakvamannam Sambhavadi Dvidha Tatracham Kittam Annasya Mutram Vidyad. So, Annasya Acham Kittam Mutram Vidyad, that statement is very highly criticized one. But Mutra is excreted through Mehana, not directly from the Koshta. And this Mehana is something which is related with the Mutravaha Srotas. So we should conceive certain ideas here. What are they? Number one, there is a mechanism operating which carries the Drava portion of the Ahar Mala to the Mutravaha Srotas. It is not getting excreted from the Koshta directly. Second point is that system makes the clear, unturbid, uncloudy liquid without any precipitates, which is excreted as Mutra. These 2 points we should understand by reading between the lines. You should not connect it directly. So it is in this mechanism, somewhere here in this periphery or this vicinity, that we have to look for a Mutradhara Kala. Mutradhara Kala. But anyway, such a Kala is not identified or explained in the classical textbooks. I should admit it. But it is, we cannot blame them for that, because it is now our turn to work further on that area and add it an explanation about Mutradhara Kala to the pool of Ayurvedic knowledge. The explanation that we find in the text, that the Drava share of the Ahar Mala becomes Mutra, needs proper understanding. Because, as I mentioned earlier, this is very often misinterpreted as Mutra is formed from the Ahara Mala directly in the Pakvashaya and then excreted from there through the Srotas meant for that purpose. A few months back, or maybe last year or so, when the Shariram, as it is explained in Ayurveda, was criticized mercilessly. One point of criticism was this, that the Ayurvedic scholars of our ancient times, like the acharyas or whoever it is, the authors of the works, they thought that mutra is formed from the ahara in the pakwashaya, and they were not aware of the formation of the mutra as it is understood today. So it is a trash which deserves no other place than the waste bin. That was the way in which it was criticized. Of course, I should admit that the formation of mutra is not understood by the acharyas, or was not understood by the acharyas as it is understood today. But it is not a big issue, or it is not a serious fault from their side. They have explained it in a way which is clinically beneficial for their interventions, what they were intending to do. But we hardly understand the narrative properly. That also could be one reason. So we should try to understand this mechanism properly, and then only I think we can fill the lacunae. So that is not done. That is why this sort of criticism that mutra is formed from the aharamala directly in the pakwashaya and then excreted from there through the srotas meant for the purpose. So where is that srotas which takes mutra from the pakwashaya to the mehana? Or do you think that that sort of a srotas exists? So this is not the way to understand it. Instead, it only mentions that this portion of ahara, mala, is excreted in the form of mutra. Everything else is an misinterpretation or an overinterpretation. So we should try to understand the mechanism in operation. From the Pakwashaya, the Drava part or share of the Kitta is further dispersed into the pool of kleda inside the body. That is very important. From the Pakwashaya, or after the that Kitta Adhonayanam, and then Vibhajanam into the Drava and Ghara, Ghanam, not Gharam, Ghanam is done. Then this Drava portion is getting dispersed into the pool of kleda inside the body. Now onwards, from that point onwards, this is a part of the pool of kleda of the Sharira. But what is to be understood specifically is that it is a Malarupa kleda. Kleda inside the Sharira contains both Sara Rupa Sneha and Mala Rupa Sneha. Now, what is added further is Mala Rupa Sneha. So, what happens? Like any other portion in the kleda within the sharira. This kleda as a whole is getting subjected to continuous processing to remove the malabhaga and to retain the sarabhaga. It is going on continuously. And here, Mutravaha Srotas plays the most important role in this whole processing. It is not just the ahara, dravamala, but the entire kleda is getting processed, because the kleda within the sharira is not Sararupa alone. It has the Sara, which is provided by the Ahara Sara, which is the Rasadhadu. Meantime, by the continuous processing of the Ahara Sara Rasadhadu to different forms like the consecutive dhadus, certain portion is left over, which will not be further used for the making of dhatu. But they were a part of the Sara Rupa Sneha earlier, because that came from the Rasadhatu only. So, even though it is a byproduct, a spillover, it is not a mala in its extreme sense, but it will not be used for further dhatu making. So that way it is a mala. It is to be taken out. It will not be reused. So that way the kleda inside the sharira has got malarupa and sararupa. It is into this pool of kleda that the dravarupa mala, ahara mala from the pakvashaya is now added. And as we discussed earlier, a healthy body in its normal way of functioning has got a continuous mechanism where this entire pool of kleda is getting processed uninterruptedly so as to remove the malarupa sneha from the sharira and retain the sararupa sneha. That is how the body is putting its effort to keep the body clean, nirmala. And those which are getting separated are in due time getting eliminated from the body. In this process, so it is something like a big treatment plant. It is something like a big treatment plant where the entire pool of sneha is getting treated continuously, from which essence is retained, the byproducts, the waste, everything. But as it is happening within a system, it is not getting continuously eliminated, but it will be separated, then segregated, and each segregated part will have its own reservoir where this can be kept until the cleansing doors are open and then excreted. In this whole process, Mutravaha Srotas plays the most important role. We may remember the role of Mutra as Mutrasya Kleda Vahanam. Of course, I think Mutra we will be discussing, but I think it may not be that elaborate. But I think because it is not required, when we understand what we discuss in the context of Mutra, I think it will be clear. So, Mutrasya Kleda Vahanam. So, Mutravaha Srotas is one important uh, character in this entire play. The entire kleda is getting processed. It is a big, huge treatment plant. And Mutra is a product of this processing. And in its normal condition, even though it is a Malarupa, it is Acha, clear, no turbidity. And as I mentioned just before, Mutradhara Kala can be assumed as operating behind this within the Mutravaha Srotas or within the premises of Mutravaha Srotas. Now, beyond the limits of this Mutravaha Srotas, we should understand that there is a networking of all types of ambu, the watery materials of various sorts operating in the Sharira. They form a network. Here, all forms of ambu are a part of this network, but still rasa, rakta, mutra, and sweda. These four components deserve special mention. A sync between all these entities related with the ambu is quite essential for the maintenance of the state of fluidity inside, within. That is also very important. There should be a perfect sync between various mechanisms operating in relation with the ambu. Acharya Vagbhada uses the term ambu karma to accommodate all these operations together and highlights Avalambaka Kabha as its coordinator. Talsthaye ambu karmana kabhadhamnam cha seshanam yat karoti avalambanam ato avalambakasveshma. So avalambaka is the coordinator of this mechanism. Now, interestingly, almost all the avayavas, of course, please do not ask specific anatomical identity of these avayavas, because again, they are in a gray zone. But almost all avayavas included in the list of koshtangas, hridayam, klomam, puphusam, yagrit, pliha, undugam, vrikka, nabhi, dimbam, andram, vasti. All these koshtangas, Koshtangani sthidanyeshu hridayam kloma puppusam yagrit pliho undugam vrikkau nabhi dimba andra vastayaha are part of this networking system of ambu karma. And each one plays a specific role in its maintenance. And another important character which needs consideration here is Twak. Twak plays a crucial role in maintaining the integrity of the system, primarily by holding the ambu intact within, preventing it from leaking out, and also making a mechanism wherein it is not taken away by the rukshada prevailing outside. So it keeps one layer of kledam always on it. If that layer of kledam is missing, I think the integrity of the twak will be challenged, which in turn will challenge the integrity of the ambu principles within. Now, in this networking mechanism, Koshta as a whole is the powerhouse with some extra importance to the Amashaya, because that works as one prime source of accumulating Drava. Of course, the entire cost is to be considered as important. Now, all the srodasas connected to the avayavas, which we were mentioning earlier, they are important components of this system, especially Rasavaha Srodas, Raktavaha Srodas, Mutravaha Srodas, and Svedavaha Srodas. They are all interconnected and play important roles in maintaining the quantity and quality of ambu in the Sharira. Now, a fifth character, another entity called Udagavahasrodas, shall be identified as the nodal agency in this network. So, Udagavahasrodas as the nodal agency, with all the some networking with the Koshtangas, with special mentioning about Rasavahasrodas, Rektavahasrodas, Svedavahasrodas, and Mutravahasrodas. A mechanism is operational within, which helps in maintaining, delivering the Ambu Karma in the Sharira. So this understanding about the management of Udaga, management of Ambu in Sharira, with an interconnected network mechanism, is very, very important in understanding the samprapti of diseases and obviously their management, like various pramehas, trishna, shwasa vikaras, yagrit vikaras, twag vikaras, etc. etc. Now, coming back to our point of Mutra, Mutra is formed from the Annakitta, but not something generated by the just by the physical separation of the liquid and solid parts of the Annakitta. That is the way in which it is misinterpreted. The acharyas were just knowing that the Annakitta is just divided into the Acha portion and the Sandra portion. And they thought that the Drava portion is called Mutra. And they thought that there is a connection to the Mehana from the Pakvashaya, and that is drained out as Mutra. It is not something generated by just by the physical separation of the liquid and solid parts of the Annakitta. There is a mechanism in place. This is very important because even by very senior experts, this origin of Mutra is misinterpreted that way. And as we saw, the Drava part of the Annakitta, which can be considered as a form of Kleda, combined with the Kleda of Sharira. I'm just summarizing what I was trying to explain. Combined with the Kleda of Sharira, becomes a part of it, and further get processed to become Mutra and then excreted. So we can see that the Kledarubi Mala of Anna is carried away by Mutra. So that way it seems that there is a direct connection, but it is not a highway between the Pakwasya and the Mehana, where an uninterrupted flow of Drava from the Pakwasya is happening to throw it away through the Mehana. But there is a complex mechanism which we have to read between the lines with our understanding of the Sharira as such explained in the bigger frame. This is very important because see, the sampraptis of this Udaga network, they are closely connected. The Aushadhas which are going to influence this Udaga network, they can be interchangeably used with some precise understanding about the dosha or doshas which run a particular samprapti. So that is very important. And obviously, I think I need not highlight that this Mutra is a niche of Kabha. So I think with that, we will conclude our session today. If there is some point in the chat box, I will see. Importance of rasa in ahara to maintain kleda. Like Lavana Vishyanta Karananam, Pikta Kleda Harananam. Yes, that is a very important connection. How the Shadrasas influence the formation of this Kleda, Annadrava, sorry, Anna, the Malaruba Kleda in the Aharakita, its bulk, its quality, all these things can be influenced by the Shadrasas. As mentioned by Dr. Vinayak, this Lavanam is definitely a important rasa which can increase the Annakleda. So obviously that is going to influence the formation of Mutra directly, or influence the mechanism of formation of Mutra directly, whereas Tikta is Kleda Haranam Agriyam. So Tikta has got its position on the other end of the story. So I was trying to explain this mechanism in a very subtle way. I do not know to what extent I could do justice to that mission. But I think listening to the ideas what we were trying to articulate multiple times will make the picture clear and clean. Then one more point, what may be the Bhuda combination, sir, of a Mutra? Of course, it has got a very huge bulk of Drava, Jala, that is the most important part. Then it has got Agni and Prithvi in the next two levels. and the minimum about the Vayu and Akasha. So there we conclude today's session. Thank you so much. Bhishajam sadhurtanam bhadramagamashaalinam abhyasta karmanam bhadram bhadram bhadrabhilashinam. Thank you so much.